All right. Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you're from. My name is Andrea Lewandowski. I'm with the New Jersey State Library, and welcome to our May 14th LibsWork meeting. And today we're being joined by David from Charlotte Mecklenburg Library System. Did I say that right?
Right. Yeah. Had an old crazy name in the past. But yeah.
So we're going to get started. And so David's going to do a presentation and share about the library and his own experiences. And then we will have time for questions. If you'd like, you can put your name and your library into the chat. And David also said that you can interrupt him if you have questions. David, are you able to monitor the chat while you go?
Should be able to. Yeah, should be
Okay.
good.
If there's anything urgent, then I'll make sure to interrupt. But
Okay, sounds good.
and can people also unmute themselves and ask?
Yeah, that's fine too. Sure.
All right. So we're a very easygoing group today. So anything goes. All right, David, I'll turn it over to you. And thank you so much for joining us today and doing this presentation.
Sure. Thank you all. I really enjoyed the LibsWork group. One second, I'm sorry. I was ready. Ooh, sorry. You guys have been inspirational the last couple of years. My workforce journey, my library journey, I've been doing this 29 years, which seems crazy to think about. I started work when I was 15 in a grocery store, did that for 5 years, had a buddy that was transitioning the library. He said, come check this out. You get off for work on time, you can make some money. It's good for your brain. I ended up doing library maintenance work, learned a lot of life skills. And so here I am. I'm going to share my screen. If you see anything that seems crazy or anything, just stop me. I'm going to turn my camera off just because I get distracted. So welcome. My name is David Sniffin, Program Manager for Workforce Development for the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. Today, we're going to talk about how workforce development has transitioned through the years at the library, along with some of our digital literacy efforts, and then our efforts towards welcoming new members to our community. Actually, turn my camera back on. So a little bit about Charlotte. Greater Charlotte area population is 2,300,000. That encompasses communities around both in South Carolina and North Carolina. We're right on the border. If you've never been here, there's an amusement park called Carowinds, where when you go in, you can literally put 1 foot in North Carolina, 1 foot in South Carolina, and take a photo. So it's kind of a fun opportunity. The county itself, we have 1,100,000 residents. Fiscal year 23, we had 323,000 active card holders. We have 21 branch locations, which I'll talk about a little bit later. We closed our main library for a reconstruction or rebuild. 480 employees. Last fiscal year budget was 53 million from the so 95% of that comes from Mecklenburg County. If you notice the parentheses, we get $2,500 from the city of Charlotte, the same as when we started in 1901. So it's just an interesting thing that's never changed. We get 50 million plus from the county, and we get 2,500 from the city, even though 18 of our branches or 15 are in the city of Charlotte. Last fiscal year programming, we had 18,000 programs. You can see attended by 366,000 plus. And then we still have a good virtual thing going post-COVID where we had 21,000 plus for virtual attendance. 1/5 of our programs are delivered outside of the library's walls through our robust outreach department. We have there's 8 full-time staff in that department, including staff from the mobile library. And actually, my wife Amrita works in that department. We met 17 years ago, been married 15 years, but we both work for the library, but she works there. And they go into the prisons, senior centers, daycares, library deserts, things like that. And then we have a unique relationship with Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, which is the 17th largest school district in the country, which I'll talk about later in our workforce area. But it's 141,000 students across 184 schools. And going on almost 10 years ago, we created a program called One Access, where a student's CMS ID is automatically registered as a library card, an e-card for the library. So it's seamless when the kids need access to e-resources. It's seamless because they can use their student ID and then go in later and get an actual physical library card from us. A little bit about our workforce development timeline. Our main library that's recently been demolished was built in 1903 as the original Carnegie Library. It has been remodeled 3 times over the 100 years. But back in fall of 2009, the Job Help Center was created in an old audio video library space to respond to the 2008 housing crisis, where a lot of people got laid off. They needed workforce support. Spring of that year, 2 branches created micro job help centers in their locations to help folks. And this was in traditionally under socioeconomically served areas. And then April 2010, we had a crazy budget crisis with Mecklenburg County. We had to lay off 1/4 of our staff, which was 100+ staff, including myself. So I got about 8 days notice, lived in a county of 1 million people, had 9.5 years in with the library, and then got 8 days notice, and then got laid off 2 days before my first anniversary. So it was a little bit crazy, to say the least. My wife still was at the library. So it was wild times, but it turned out to be one of those things that through life we realized was one of the best things that ever happened to us, because it, excuse my language, got me off my butt, got me off my ass, made me realize I got to do more than sit behind a reference desk, go to meetings. So I got a lot of good things from there. I worked for the State Library of South Carolina as a development consultant, learned how to project manage, made me better when I came back to Charlotte Mecklenburg. So between 2010 and 2021, the Job Help Center continued offering workforce support, twice a year job fairs where we had 40 employers coming with about 400 job seekers to the main library. And then we did a lot of outreach to local community groups and things like that. I came back to the library in 2011, managed the second floor of the main library for a while, and then transitioned into an adult services role that was new. And then from 2018 to 2021, I managed the Job Help Center at the main library. October 2021, the main library closed. We had a complete tear down rebuild. It's going to take, at that point, we were projecting 2024 it would be rebuilt, but it's taking a little bit longer. We had 4 full-time staff and 3 part-time staff that were just dedicated to job help services, but they got redistributed to other duties as assigned. And then there wasn't really specific ideas of what should happen to workforce. So for a little while, I was kind of a person alone on this journey. Spring 2022, decided to create a workforce development team, which is anybody that wants to sign up that's interested, please join us. We went from this was someone's specific job to now this is other duties, but you have permission to explore these opportunities. We want to make it more equitable through our branches. You shouldn't have to go across town to get a resume help. That's what used to happen in the past. You should expect a baseline of support at every location. So to that end, we created a workforce development team. Notice I said the library closed in fall of 2021. It took 2 years to get everything squared away, so that just last October, it finally started getting demolished, which is great. Now we have a big hole that we can build a library on, which is exciting, of course. During this time, the workforce development team and the folks that were wanted to join us encompassed 20+ staff. And these staff came from all divisions, circulation services, children's, teens, adults, outreach, so that when I talk about equitable, wanting to serve everybody, it's a really good perspective of all the services we offer in Charlotte. And I'm sorry, I'm not checking the chat. If there's any questions, I'll catch up. Our workforce development team, we split up into 4 sub-teams with sub-team leaders. So there's a team that created a baseline curriculum, an advanced curriculum, a marketing and communication strategy, and then a subject matter experts partnership sub-team. Our workforce development offerings at the library have kind of always included this, but now it's expanded because we have staff expertise expanding. We offer one-on-one support for all aspects of the job search, job searching, resume creation, but we also offer classes. We also have a real strength in offering what we call Stronger Together, which is job search support groups. And we have a curriculum of about 20 to 25 themed presentations when you meet, but this is come and talk about your job search journey. I've been struggling with this. Anybody got ideas on, how to do this, or should I craft my resume this way? Different things like that. We also offer through the library one-on-one resume support. So you can email your resume to us and someone from the workforce team will get back to you within 3 to 4 days. Um, my wife is on the team, workforce team, and she's been working with someone on 3 versions of the resume and the person's not really grasping what she's saying. You need to change. So, we can teach you to lead you to the water and teach you to fish, but then you got to take that next opportunity. But one unique aspect of our library system is that if you want to work in a career center in this state or in this region, you have to take some fundamental courses. One being called Facilitating Career Development, which is a foundational course. It doesn't make you a career coach, but it makes you more expert in career things that are out there to help job seekers. And we're the only library in the state of North Carolina that sends staff to that training. It's about $600 a person. And we have about 25 staff with that certification, including myself. They're revamping the program for the fall. And so I have at least 6 to 8 staff right now that are interested in that. And thankfully, I have a budget next year that'll help support that. Let me check the chat. Sure, good on the chat. Okay. So this is the curriculum itself. When I send out this presentation, I think these are possibly behind our Teams page, but I can make sure these are anybody can access them. But these are the curriculums that were created. And when you look at each of these curriculums, it includes a lesson plan, a presentation, a handout, notes. And so it's literally, I've done a few programs. I'm not comfortable to do this. Oh, well, everything's right here. Give it a try. We also offer, program mentoring. Come shadow us. But you can see we have applicant tracking. The career development for international customers is particularly good. That touches into some of our other program offerings. And, if you think about the job search process, this is sort of tries to encompass everything. You have to create an account. You need to learn about career transitions. You need to learn about applicant tracking systems, resumes, writing a cover letter, things like that. So we offer all that to empower that staff member to, if they're not even comfortable doing it, maybe they can print out the PowerPoint, give it to the customer, give them the notes, things like that. So at least they come away with something in their hand. Let's see. And then, excuse me one second. Pre-COVID, we had a sort of relaxed relationship with our local workforce board, which is called NC Works and Charlotte Works. NC Works kind of runs the state part on the federal labor department contract. And then Charlotte Works is the local board that kind of controls the funding and then what services are offered. We started getting back into the relationship kind of post-COVID, December of 2021. We had a couple meetings, decided to, in summer 2022, we went to a couple, they had a funding issue where they had 2 workforce centers in Charlotte, one closed. And so where that one closed, we had a library branch and we were able to offer them office hours a couple of days a week in that library branch. And then the other one in East Charlotte kept going the same way. November 2022, we reconnected like at a meeting one-on-one with the business services division. They're the division that actually engages with employers that are looking for employees. And so we said, let's explore a way where we can work with our county funders together so that basically we're kind of doing the public commons model where, we provide the space, you're the experts, you help bring in the audience. And so we explored our opportunities in December 2022, we started offering what we were calling hiring events. And these are not job fairs. These are bring your resume, get ready to talk to an employer, let's get provisionally hired. We had a real good opportunity because there's a whole area of Charlotte being redeveloped called the Pearl Project, which is going to be a huge. Wake Forest University is in near Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I'm sorry, it's in Wake Forest, but they're building a medical school here in Charlotte. And so this is like a $2 billion project of a medical school redevelopment. And so Charlotte Works had engaged with the construction companies behind that. So we were able to host a construction hiring event at a library that's about 3 to 4 miles from that construction area under the guise of, work near where you live. This is, again, a traditionally underserved socioeconomic area. And so we had a job fair there. We had about 40 people come in for the hiring event. There were subcontractors there, other contractors. Subsequently, we hosted one with the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office for professional and law enforcement positions. We had about 35 people come out to that, and their HR guy set up a table in the room and was like interviewing people on the spot to get them in the pipeline. And the good thing is, again, our workforce partner, Charlotte Works, has people in their pipeline that have these skills that know to come to these events. So since then, for that fiscal year 23, with those 11 events, we had 560 plus job seekers at the combined events. And then our CMS partner, Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, who I talked about earlier, because they have 181 schools, you can imagine there's a lot of vacancies with how we know people in public schools are treated. And they found out that, halfway through their school year, they had more vacancies than at the beginning. So we started hosting monthly hiring events, strategically targeting. Our largest libraries are called regionals, and they're targeted around the county. So we've been hosting hiring events at the regional locations. And so typically there's 10 to 12 schools and then 5 to 6 supporting departments within CMS, which is like custodial services, transportation, culinary, things like that. And so for this fiscal year, we have 12 hiring events scheduled with them and another construction company that's kind of fallen off. But so far, through the first 9 events, we've had 1,074 attendees. And the brilliant thing my colleague at CMS did, who's in charge of recruiting, is she'd been sending me the hiring numbers after like 1 month away from the event. So 150 people came 1 month out. We want to hire 15 from that event. Well, she started running the numbers 6 months out. And so from every event we've had in fiscal year 24, 6 months out, we've had 1,074 attendees and 266 people recommended for hire or were hired. So we're having a 25% return hire rate every event. So if 100 people come, 25 are getting hired. So that's a pretty crazy return on investment, I think, especially sharing, county tools. And what I do, I don't work at a library. I work at the administrative center, but I've been working for Charlotte Mecklenburg for 22 years. So I go and I'm the liaison between the library staff there. I make sure the room's set up in CMS. CMS provides a liaison that helps applicants coming that aren't in the pipeline. We have 6 or 7 computers set up. They can get into the CMS system, submit their resumes right there. We run copies for free. So it's a great, cohesive program. And then through fiscal year 2025, we have 14 hiring events scheduled. So basically 1 a month, including one going into August 2025, which is actually fiscal year 26. So, it's been a long time coming, but this draws a lot of new users to the library. Oh man, I didn't know you guys were doing this. We always have to educate about what we're doing. And it's just been a win-win. I just can't speak. A huge library, a huge school system like that has a lot of turnover, and it's not always easy to work with them because your connections get lost. But this has been a really very fruitful partnership, and I'm really a lot of job security. So these are some of the pictures from the events. Upper left is CMS. Upper right is I went to host a table. I usually host a table at the CMS events with just my resources, which are like handouts, like resume action verbs and how to ruin a job interview, and my fact sheet where you can track things. And so the upper right was at Urban League where they had a HVAC program coming. So I had my table and shared that we can evaluate your resumes. And then this is the sheriff's office, and then that's my table with my resources and swag set up. That's kind of the journey of workforce. If there's any questions so far, I'm happy to answer those. But I'm going to push on to our newcomers area, our welcoming program we have, which is called WelcomCLT. This initiative started, Andrea, yes, with the NC Charlotte Works. The first year we had support, we had marketing, their marketing person, because it's federally supported, they have like, I guess, federal contracts that just, when it's done, which has been crazy. So they don't have a marketing person. And we had a business services rep with the CMS who would come, Joyce, who would count the numbers for Charlotte Works, NC Works. This lady was in her 70s, still working. And then the last event, 3 events ago, we found out she just wasn't there anymore. And we were able to get back in touch with them. And so it's been kind of a precarious relationship, but us and the Charlotte Mecklenburg schools have kept on moving because this is working and successful. And we're not dependent on them, but it would look good for our funders if we could all work together on this. It's not from a lack of effort on our part, for sure. So, WelcomCLT was created in around 2018 as part of the national welcoming initiative that was going on, and it's to provide new residents with an emphasis on international newcomers. At one point, Charlotte was about the second or third highest immigration place for Spanish-speaking individuals, with Mecklenburg County being first in the state. That's since transitioned to we have a lot of Bhutanese here, folks from Venezuela, other populations. And so WelcomCLT is just to welcome everyone here. And then Charlotte, we're still running on average 113 people move here every day. It's gone up from 110 a few years ago. So there's never a glut of luxury apartments available, if you will. And I'll leave my opinion about that as it is. But, people are coming here, so you got to have some place to live. So, and then we provide kiosk and library locations that share city, county services, education options, social services, emergencies. There's a lot of people that move here and don't have an idea or never experienced what a library is. So the fact they've actually made it to the library, let's give them some information they can use. We've been partnering with the USCIS for a number of years, especially with information sharing. But right when COVID hit, we were going to do a naturalization ceremony, and then it hit. But we were able to just last month host one at our South County Regional, which is a huge library we have, and we had 14 citizens from 11 countries come. And so that's been a real victory we've been trying to do, to really maximize our output for this program. And nobody can hate having newcomers here, and really library hosting that is such a win for us. And then we work with local groups like Carolina Refugee Resettlement, Latin American Coalition, International House, which are really strong local agencies, and then City of Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, both are really invested in diversity. The library, actually yesterday, our new diversity coordinator just came on board. So we're not a diversity iced out area, thank the Lord on that. So these are we call stories of impact. So these are actually pictures from the naturalization ceremony. You can see the community room is packed with folks and their loved ones, and then this family, lovely family of 4, got naturalized, and that's such a win-win. So, and then our last big project we've been pushing since 2013 is DigiLit. I'm sure you understand that means digital literacy. Provides all kinds of technology training opportunities for focus workplace tools, basic digital skills, social media, and then mobile devices. We have a really robust team that offers, a lot of these are offered basically one-on-one or through virtual or sometimes in-person classes, but we have a lot more success with one-on-one opportunities and virtual learning opportunities. And then you can see these are all wholly created curriculums. We wanted to go that route. We actually are hired a consultant right now that's evaluating these with us. I'm part of their team. We're thinking about trying to explore copywriting them, just so proper attribution is given. We're not trying to make money off of it, but Los Angeles Public Library recently bought a publishing house, so they're obviously going to be able to control some of their own literature, and something worth exploring. There's all kinds of, the big thing about these curriculums is when something changes, you have to go in and change the curriculum. And that's where it's often more beneficial to maybe, lean into sites like GCF Learn Free, LinkedIn Learning, so you're not having to adjust the curriculum. But it's worked for us so far, and thankfully you have the staff capacity for it. And then if you look at the very bottom, getting started with your MechTech computer, we were able to use ARPA funds and grant funds to last year offer 20,000 refurbished laptops to community residents. And so we worked with a number of community organizations to offer these. They run on a Linux operating system. They're refurbished, repurposed, so there was quality control was kind of an issue, and we didn't offer support. We couldn't offer support forever, so it's a good program. But we gave away 20,000 computers, and we can give away 200,000 more. We never meet the threshold, but something we're trying. It's probably not a project we'll be. It's one of those things where we kind of got involved with, and then we got the ball handed to us, and we got to take the lead, even though we didn't necessarily sign up for that. But because we're such a strong community partner, we definitely didn't drop that ball. So, and then as I said earlier, we do 20% of our programming through outreach, through our mobile options. So as I said, those staffs visit senior nutrition sites, which are county provided sites for seniors where they can go get a meal because they may not get a meal on a regular basis. Underserved schools, CMS is 181 schools. You can imagine there's schools on the top end of that and schools on the bottom end of that. And we try to serve everyone in between. And then churches and many other organizations. And then 3 years ago, which is crazy to believe it's been that long already, we were able to offer our Molly, our mobile library. And we have funding to provide this with 3 full-time staff. So our Molly guys, they're really a team that love and care about each other, and they do really good work. And they're able to offer on-demand programming. They go to farmers markets, events, schools, like I said, library deserts, things like that. And we had a bookmobile back in the day, but then gas got to be $4 a gallon way back, and then we had to drop that. And so we were able to get this with some grant funding a few years ago, and it's really made quite an impact in our community. And then our old main library I talked about, I spent 10 years in a windowless office at the old main library. So I didn't know some days if it was hurricaning or if the apocalypse had come or if it was sunny, but that's just how it was, which is fine. But this is going to be our new main library. Our old main library had the entrance was back on this cold alleyway. It was never on the front. This is Tryon. Up here is Trade. So this is like our main street in Charlotte. We don't call our downtown. We call it uptown because it's actually on a hill. But this is going to be revitalized. These things you see behind the library don't exist. None of this exists. It's parking garages and stuff. But our new main library is going to be a way smaller in footprint, but way more open space, as you can imagine a 130-year newer building will be. These renderings, we hope, will maximize themselves with the budget we created a few years ago. But you notice there's this theater on the left. That was an old school theater that belonged to Mecklenburg County. They gifted that to the library so that once it's rebuilt, we'll share a lobby inside so that when there's theater events, the library may be closed, but the lobby will have opportunity for wine and charcuterie and things like that. It'll be run by an outside company, but it's going to be a real opportunity. And it's going to be a place to be. We hope it's like the Austin Public Library and other great libraries that are out there. And then this is the renderings of what it looks like going inside. Right side is kind of pie in the sky with the theater. Left side is kind of more modest, what we may be able to afford with our money. And then my area of interest is the second floor, which is going to be the Opportunity Center, a Newcomer Center, and a terrace. So it's going to be basically our workforce center, a Newcomer Center. There's going to be a digitization lab there. And then we're going to have an outside terrace kind of overlooking Tryon, which is sort of our main street, which we've never had before. So that's really going to be exciting. Again, timeline right now is around 2026. Hopefully we open. The groundbreaking did happen a while back. But with this day and age and the kind of matrix we live in, who knows what's going to happen. But, and then that's kind of it. This is my contact info. This is my crew here. So my wife Amrita, my boy Niam and Nikhil. We took a big trip last year to Europe, to Switzerland, and Italy. And so this is at the top of Interlaken, which is the lake area that joins two lakes in Switzerland. Highly recommend going there. My sister-in-law beat breast cancer and provided us to go for a whole week. We had such a great time. But this is what fuels me. This is my crew. I've talked a lot. I can overwhelm you for another hour, but I want to make sure to give you all some opportunity to ask questions if you want to. But thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you so much. This has been incredible. So I know I have a couple questions, but I'm going to open it up for anyone else. You can unmute and ask, or you can type in the chat.
I also have to shout out our marketing team. They got us National Library Week shirts for all staff this year.
Nice.
So in the custom model, and then we all took pictures at our respective locations. So it's pretty cool. So I got so many library shirts. It's crazy, but this is what I wear outside. This is when I wear when I'm not working.
I have 2 questions.
Please.
And I'm also wearing a sweatshirt or a zip. Libraries, yeah. So we all have that in the bags. Don't forget the bags we all have.
Too many banks.
Question one is you were saying that the one on computer training is the most successful, which I agree with us. We are finding that to be the most well attended. But then you were putting all that effort into all that curriculum, but that curriculum is more class oriented, not one-on-one, or am I wrong?
It is, but we have a lot of young folks working with us now. I hate to say it, I'm an oldie fogey, but you know, next week I'm paying for some facilitation skill training for professional development. I think I have a lot of staff. You get into a programming position, but I want to program, but how do I program? So we've made this curriculum so that you have the lesson plan, and the lesson plan is, this is the program name, this is your audience, this is who it's for, this is the introduction, welcome to the class today, how are you doing? So it's literally, you know, model it with somebody doing it, but we've tried to make it as simple as, you know, watch it done a couple times, you've seen how it done, you see the curriculum, then model it to you. So the PowerPoint is not a PDF, it's a PowerPoint, so you can put your name on it, you're presenting it, you know, it's things like that. And so that way, unlike the DigiLit, we're not having to update it, you can update it for yourself in that way. But it's also, you know, I work from a position of I have no authority.
Like 30 minutes. I'm going to talk next. Sorry.
I have no authority. I work through influence. And so I'm fine with that. No problem for me. But so, you know, we just kind of have to go with that.
And what you're saying makes sense because you have two ways of doing it. So it's you're offered the one-on-one, but you also have the available for people that want to do the classroom trainings. And I was just struck that you put so much effort into the other area if you were finding the most successes into the one-on-one, because we do the same thing, right? So I was just curious. So I know Natalie wants a question, so I'll wait until the end if I have time for my other question.
one thing we have a lot of our communities, my staff, my coworkers tell me, that person's not going to go on the website and find this. I got to put it in their hand. So if I can print this presentation out and put it in their hand, they can take it home. That's going to work for them. So we got to don't think we know what they want, you know? So that's why we give that printout option. Seems old school, but you can print that out, put it in their hand. You don't get this, come back and then we'll talk one-on-one, help work you through it.
Makes sense. All right. Thank you.
Okay, for me?
Please.
Okay, David, this is wonderful. I'm excited to see you doing all of this and that you have so many staff engaged. You're way ahead. I don't know who's read this report yet. It's reimagining the public library's role in workforce development. And it's by Burning Glass. And I think, Lisa, it's by the people from Bendable Labs that you've worked with. It's interesting, but I think they only interviewed a small section of people because a lot of us are already doing a lot of what they talk about in that report. But I was just curious, when you said you have 20 staff, how many total employees does your library system have?
You know, we have like 480 positions.
Okay, that makes sense then.
And then we don't have a lot of openings. It seems like we've had we've had more turnover than usual, I would say, lately, especially kind of in branch leadership. But the team, I'm almost at a point where this should be just an expectation, so we don't need a team anymore. You know, that's what I'm getting towards. But I want representatives out there when that main library opportunity center opens. Not everybody's going to be able to come uptown. You know, we still have residents I know that live in West Charlotte that have never been uptown. You know, they don't have that opportunity. So I still want that every library at least have something to offer everyone. And,
that's good. We're a different kind of system because we have an urban, suburban, and rural branches, and we only have 180 staff, and we have 6 full-time workforce staff. But 4 of our staff, you know, we specifically call them career navigators. Alicia Copley is one of them, and she's on the call today, and that's working really well for us. I was going to mention one thing. When you talk about the content of the classes, one of the things that we've done is we've based almost all of our classes around a specific book. And then, you know, we always try books into what we're teaching because we're always encouraging circulation. But one way, and I was going to ask you this, do you allow your classes to be recorded if they're virtual or no?
That's something I'm not sure because I don't offer a lot of virtual myself.
Okay. We
I'm not
we
sure yet.
started, we pivoted so much of our
I
workforce
think we do.
online when we did through COVID. So then post-COVID, we went back to doing everything in person, but people still expect some classes online. So we do both. We don't do hybrids except for one large program, but we don't record them. And what I was going to tell you is how we get around that is we talk about having all our instructors be subject matter experts in their area, since we're the library and we always want to give updated, correct information. We also tell people that they maintain confidentiality since people are looking for jobs, and that no one is ever trying to sell them anything in the classes. And then we use the parameter that, well, if we record the class and somebody watches it a year from now, because of artificial intelligence and the way things are changing so quickly, they're going to say, oh, well, that's not right. So that's why we don't record anything. So they can't come back and say, well, but we get around it like that. But it was just a different style. So I was curious if you recorded and how many
Yeah.
people you have and all of that. And then through any of your programs, do you have a way yet of keeping track of how many people are landing jobs?
So a few things there. We are revamping our workforce website, which is not very robust now, but it's going to be really nice and way more accessible soon, as well as our
Okay.
regular website. We don't record because we ran into storage issues with Zoom and what they charge for that kind of stuff and licensing. So, and also, you know, we offer 20,000 programs a year. You can catch up. You know, you don't need to, because you can watch a
Right.
recording on GCF and things like that. So
Yeah.
we don't really worry about that. I
Okay.
think our biggest thing is just you know, the CMS tracking of the, you know, we usually find out you got a job because you quit coming to the library. So it's that kind of
Okay.
thing, you know, or you come back to
Okay.
our narrative options. So
Okay.
we don't even really track the number of people that come into our doors because the systems aren't accurate. So we have a lot of things to catch up on. I
Okay.
go by program attendance and narratives. You know, if you gave me a story of success that you got a job, I'm going to scream that to the mountaintops, you know, things like that.
Okay.
Or, you know, if you had a particularly good, you know, we've had someone use our resume review service that later emailed us back and said, you know, I went from being like a PA in a doctor's office. Now I'm working Harvard Medical School on the nutrition side because you helped me with my resume. So those are the big stories we like to share. And, you know, they don't always happen, but we know we're making an impact with folks. At least if we give these opportunities, give these materials to them.
That's
And the
good.
fact that if they think about us when they need workforce help, that's a win to me. That's what I
That's
do at
good.
all. I go to these job fairs, hiring events. I'm going to we have a place called the Roof Above tomorrow, which is a Roof Above is a men's shelter. And they're having a job fair in the morning. I'm not going to hire for the library. I'm going to share resources to help you get hired. So that's how I approach it, because so many people still think about, oh, I can only get books at the library, or I can only do this. And even my county partners, large part of my job is educating the other things we do. Tap into your
Yeah.
clients to tap into us because they already
Yeah.
paid for it. We're not free.
Okay.
You paid
Good.
for us already, so tap into it.
Okay. Well, kudos to you. I have to
Thank
run
you.
to another meeting,
Thank
but
you.
I thought
Thank
it
you.
was great. So
Appreciate you. Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Any other questions?
There was a question about our consultant. It was my colleague Abrar, who's a workforce development co-lead. Saw them at LibsWork. I always get it confused, but that conference, and she's providing professional development for us next week. It's learning how to facilitate programs, things like that. And then the second part is going to be community mapping, mapping needs of your community. And we open it up to all library staff, and then I open it up to our community partners. We're a part of the, which isn't in my presentation, but we're a member of our reentry network for our justice involved individuals. And Mecklenburg County has the oldest reentry network in the state. So we've been doing a lot more work with them, hosting reentry simulations and things like that. I really want to engage with my friends in Kentucky and do those reentry kits where, you know, someone coming back from prison gets a phone, a laptop, a Wi-Fi hotspot, gets help, and they get to hold it for 6 months. If it doesn't come back, that's fine. I'm hoping to use some money next year to test pilot a couple of those, because we have a county service that anybody coming back from prison in Mecklenburg County can use this Mecklenburg County Reentry Services. So, got things like that I want to try on the horizon. So never stop innovating. I'd rather ask, forgiveness 100 times than, permission in a beggar's line. So that's how I roll.
Actually, my question is about the library outreach, and you talked about going to correctional facilities. Can you share a little bit more about how that looks? And are you providing digital literacy training through that, or internet access for people who are incarcerated?
No, it's usually, they don't allow a lot of electronics. So it's writing your feelings, it's thinking about a resume. It's because of the various lockdowns, the inconsistency of the staffing there, they're really underserved. The outreach team had 3 people going. Recently, only Amrita, my wife, has been going, but she engages with usually the female populations, but it's going to start with the male populations. But it's come and, you're going to get out in 3 or 4 months. This is what things cost. What are you going to do? What's your plan? It's things like that. They don't allow very much electronics in there. Part of the reentry network is going to correctional facilities and providing outreach. So I'm going to there's a neighboring county called Gaston County. So I'm going to go to a prison over there, hopefully, and just share library resources. But, that's the kind of thing where we can't even take in paper clips and things like that. So
Wow.
yeah, you can take in your papers. That's all you can really do. I can't take my phone, my keys, nothing like that. So, but, that population is never robust. So we can, do as much as we can. So.
I had another question. And I should have started my first question by saying that this invigorates me. A lot of the things you were talking about, we were doing, and we kind of, stopped doing things. This is like, okay. Of course, everything's about money too, right? So, all right, here's the second question. We used to do job clubs way back in the day, but they weren't successful. Some libraries were fairly okay with certain people attending. What do you attest your success for? What was it? Certain people that are just wonderfully warm facilitators, or is there anything secrets? What's your secret sauce for the job club?
I think it's the way you market it. We did have so originally, and it's actually carried over. So we had the main library, and then we had a nice repurposed transit hub, just coffee station, bars, restaurants. And so we would go in there, and it was called Coffee and Conversation. That's kind of how it started. Okay. So you don't put a cap on it. And you can do that at any location. You put out coffee, people are going to come, say this is about job stuff. Don't put an agenda on it to start with. And then that moved on to Stronger Together Job Search Support Club. And let me 1 second. So our Stronger Together, our job search support groups, we have curriculum so that it's, I can't get let me just share this right quick, sorry, so you can see it. So you can see here, these are the topics we have, career mapping, career story, company culture, crafting resume bullets. So we can have a 20-minute discussion, then we're going to talk about interview anxiety or using Glassdoor or your elevator pitch. And so that it's themed out. And we started doing this, pre-COVID. We did this was things we've just been building on. Right. New staff coming in have been picking up on it. And, we were talking about the international customers. My colleague Kristen said one day she had, 5 out of the 6 folks were international customers that were looking for jobs and stuff like that. And so often the customers come and then you craft the conversation around that with just some tips, or spur them with things, what's been your success the last week? Or, was there something different you tried on your resume? Or, but the big thing we always emphasize is we're librarians. We work at the library. We're not career coaches. We're not career experts. This is just, we don't want people to lean on us too much because I don't want them to be disappointed. I've heard a lot about you helped us get a job, and I've also, I don't want to hear you didn't help me get a job. So it's kind of balancing that out and tempering everyone's expectations, if you will.
So it's funny, my entire staff, including myself, are not librarians.
No, and I mean, half the workforce team is not librarians.
No,
Half the
I know
workforce team
that.
isn't.
I'm not
Yeah.
taking that way, David.
No, you're a librarian. Anybody comes up to you and asks you a question. That's what
Yeah,
you should say.
exactly. And in
Yeah.
fact, that's how we train the entire staff is that way. Yeah. So it's good. No, that what you were saying, I think the first word you said was you offered coffee. And that was like, that because we did have themes. Our marketing was our marketing, and we stopped with COVID. We stopped the job clubs completely. I mean, we haven't brought them back up, I should say, on that. But no, I don't want to hog any more time. But
No.
it's wonderful. It's wonderful. And I can't wait to get your PowerPoint so we
Sure,
can.
absolutely.
Yeah, yes, this is
And that's an
share.
opportunity for outreach where you go to your local coffee place and say, hey, we might have some people come, you serve them coffee for $1. You say the library came, can we make this work? And then you'll get
Yeah.
maybe repeat customers, just tap into because they're going to, how can they say no to the library? Ugh, you don't want to be the Grinch, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I look at it.
So you know what, I want to share something with y'all. When it comes to the stories you're talking about, and we've been doing that since 2010. We've been sharing stories of success as well. We call it success and woe. Now we just say stories. So I just finished writing a grant on Friday to Highmark Blue Cross, right? And we wanted in the grant, we wanted some little tidbits in the narrative. And I thought, well, let me share a story. So I went into the stories for 2024 and just put in the word find for Highmark. And I came up with the most fantastic story that was just like perfect for this grant. So this is like, so those stories are like, wow. That's just like, okay. So I was like so proud of myself to think of that. I know that sounds like a little thing, right? But it's just like sometimes it just gels together. So I'm getting that grant, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of our culture initiative a few years ago was to lead every meeting with a story of impact. Because if you're not making an impact, then why are we doing anything? So, it's a big.
It's shocking, the stories. I mean, it really is. So we can bring it up, but yeah. But anyways, it's important. So and I have something else to say, but I'll bring it up later at the end about stories and AI.
Anybody else? Anything? Shout out to my background. That's Arsenal Football Club. We're going to win the league. That's all I'm going to say. So.
I had a question about how these pieces fit together. Do you have a system in place for like referrals back and forth? Like, so somebody is looking to increase their technology skills, like for their resume, so then they're getting over to the Digilit, or somebody, people kind of getting moved around these different parts of the library.
So funny you should mention that. We worked with our buddy Ben Hamilton from Howard County with Pathways to Success. Ben was kind enough to let us monitor the program without we didn't need to take their $2,000 they were offering because I have a workforce budget. I'm blessed for that. This year I have a budget. So we kind of monitored what they're doing. If y'all aren't familiar, it's a Howard County Library System has a grant with IMLS where they can combine our workforce and our WelcomCLT into one program so that every semester they're teaching 40 to 50 individuals, newcomers to this country, all the workforce skills, all the library skills with 30 to 40 teachers that they pay to their IMLS grant. And then they're able to also have 2 to 3 librarians administer the program. So that's our goal, is to find a way to mesh all these things together, because you all know you can't do one without the other. You can't work without having literacy skills and digital, and you can't apply for a job without that. And you got to learn the nuances of this country. So that's what we're working towards. And we actually had last week we had two days of trainings for our WelcomCLT staff that want to come. We had 40 staff each day. It was the same training both days. So there's staff interested in that, and I had a workforce component in that saying, we want to mesh all these things together. So that's where I kind of emphasize our workforce for international customers offerings that we have, curriculum. And so that's what we're working towards because, like I said, we got 113 people coming here a day. And that's not going to stop. It's only going to increase because it's as crazy as it is around here. It's still an affordable place to live. So.
All right, other questions, comments? Going once, going twice.
Thank you all for the opportunity to share. I hope it wasn't too much.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. It's so nice to hear that LibsWork inspired you, and then now we're inspired by you. So it goes to show, how these kinds of groups can have returns on investment that then come back to all of us. So thank you. And to all of you, if you have any ideas, anything you'd like to share for a future LibsWork meeting, you can let me know. You get the emails from me with the reminders, so feel free to reach out at any time. This has been recorded. It'll be posted on our YouTube page, and you'll get a link afterwards. And David, are you able to share your slides with us so we have all those links?
Is it okay to share the PDF with you?
Yes.
Okay. I'll check
Perfect.
the links to make sure they work.
Awesome. Thank you. And our next meeting, I didn't pull up the date. Our next meeting will be on June 11th. It will be our last LibsWork meeting of the fiscal year. We take the summer off and then we'll be fresh in September. I think we're going to do another LibsWork Lounge in June. And maybe if anyone is speaking at the ALA conference, you can give us a preview of what you're going to be talking about or any recommendations for sessions. And if all of you going would like to schedule a meetup, you can do that as well. So yeah, that's it. Thank you everyone for being here. Thanks again to David. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And I will see you next month. Bye,
Peace.
everyone.